All right.
Damn, we finally did it.
We did it. Guys.
We finally did it at the same time.
Thanks for staying on the stream. We are doing the final top 10 of PGRZ. The greatest of all time, the top 10. I've got LK and Rynge on the stream right now. I don't feel like window capturing their faces, so I apologize. But you know who they are. You love them. No introductions needed. We're going to jump right into it. We are coming up at number 10. We got Wawa from AS Monaco Esports from France. This dude is little youngster powerhouse. I am not even sure if he's 18 yet, actually. But season 2, he came up big after kind of having a pretty quiet season 1. A lot of France, EU area knew that he was really strong, especially if you had paid attention to his KOF career. But he really blew up in season 2, coming in at first at World Tour Japan, first at UFA, third at Celtic Throwdown, and fifth at World Tour Spain. As you can see, he's taken out some big names such as Sonic Fox, Kazunoko, Fenrich, Shanks, Tekill Sage, and considering that we're in the top 10, there are going to be tons more names on that list. Rynge, what are your thoughts on Wawa?
I mean, what a story Wawa was, right? I actually didn't know this until like 2 seconds ago that he was on the Team France at KOF 13 at the Cannes World Cup Gaming in 2013 at 10 years old. Like, give me a break. So, yeah, I mean, 7 years later, he's barely 17, right? He's not even 18 yet. And he's already made himself known as one of the best fighting game players in the world. Incredible season 2 run. It is funny because his season 1 team and season 2 team here are parallels, right? They're the exact same team, but we know him from exploring a lot of characters, right? We've seen him rock Gogeta in competitive play, a bunch of other characters that he really cracks open and innovates with. So yeah, I mean, I'm just so glad that Wawa is in the Dragonball fighter scene. He's an incredible player and one that I can't stop watching. So great stuff from Wawa for sure.
Yeah, this is the general of France himself, right? Like the last boss of the whole nation of France, Wawa, exploded onto the scene after beating Kazunoko. Not just beating him, but also beating him with a character that is kind of underused, at least at that time, Base Goku. Pretty much bringing Base Goku to the international spotlight as well. Multi-character specialist too, like you mentioned, Gogeta. He plays mad random characters. Like we argued about Videl at a bar once. Like you don't understand Videl's secret potential. And normally when people tell me that, I'm like, yeah, whatever. But like when Wawa says that, I'm like, So he
maybe there's some
maybe there's
some truth to the statement, or you're still just crazy. I don't know.
Yeah, who knows? But he has a really, really exceptionally flexible toolkit and character kit, which is definitely pretty unique in Dragon Ball FighterZ.
Yeah, I think he's one of my favorite players. He stuck with Base Goku, which is what most people know him for. He stuck with Base Goku throughout season 1, where he was pretty bad, and Wawa admitted that himself. So I see you guys in chat. Don't make stuff up. No revisionist history here. But the character got a ton of buffs in season 2, and Wawa kept grinding away at him and just getting stronger and stronger as a player, and really brought him onto the competitive stage, and showed what the character was now capable of, along with really solid Super Saiyan Goku play and Adult Gohan. One of the only Adult Gohan players that actually elected to play him first on point, which is pretty interesting about him. We're going to jump down to number 9 here. We've got one of my roommates, one of my best friends, Evil Geniuses, Tekill Sage coming from the USA. Also, yet another player that kind of cruised on by a little bit in Season 1. Had a very solid Season 1, but in Season 2 really, really blew up. Got 3rd at World Tour Finals, 3rd at World Tour Spain, 3rd at CEO, and 9th at EVO, with huge wins over Sonic Fox, other players such as Fenrich, Dogra, Hook, and Shanks. We'll go ahead and let's jump over to LK first this time.
Yeah, so much that could be said about Tekill Sage, to be honest. Like his work ethic, when he really, really puts his mind to something, he really does have the ability to do stuff. This player card doesn't even show all the stuff he did in season 2. Like that's how good his season 2 was. And similar to Wawa, what he has in common with him is that he also bought a character that was considered to be pretty unpopular / not that good, and brought them into the spotlight as like a close to top tier or top tier character, which would be Broly. And we're talking about season 2 specifically. Characters like Broly, tall characters, were considered to be practically unplayable in tournaments because of the defensive situations they could be put in, like really bad defensive situations. But despite that, he played the character anyway, pushed the character, pushed the team. He picked Team Gohan too before people figured that Team Gohan was top 3, and took that squad all the way to World Tour Finals. It's a really, really good story.
Yeah, the Kill Sage is definitely one of my favorite stories as a player, period. I want to build on a couple of your points. Yeah, he won Thunderstruck, right? This is not listed on the card, but he got first place at Thunderstruck, won one of the stops on the Dragon Ball FighterZ tour. And on top of that, yeah, I really like his interview with Born Free, because I always bring this up when I talk about the Kill Sage, because Born Free asked him, like, how do you feel your natural talent is at fighting games? And he was like, I am trash, right? Like, he's like, but I have to sit there and grind it out. That's the type of player I am. And I always admire his work ethic, as LK pointed out. And that's just something that's stood out to me from the Kill Sage, because I also feel like I'm a pretty slow starter when it comes to fighting games. But he shows that if you really put your mind to it and have the talent for it, well, not really the talent, but the work ethic for it, right, to match with what you've already put the work into. He's just an amazing player, and I've always seen him at the upper echelon, and it's good to see that in season 2 he got so many prominent placings, especially that third at the World Tour Finals. I know everybody's heart was warmed by that.
Yeah, it's interesting to note that since we just talked about Wawa as well, that Sage is another player who stuck with characters that were kind of flying under the radar once season 2 hit and all the buffs and changes came out. And was one of the first people I distinctly remember. A lot of people were like, "No, Broly's still not good. He's still not good." And Sage really believed in the character and really showed what he can do. And was also on the Team Gohan train. Again, as you mentioned, long before anyone realized that, it was like, wow, this is like a top 3 character. So yeah, another player that's ahead of curve on the character picks as far as season 2 goes. Very impressive player all around. Come down to number 8. I'm sure a lot of people miss him. I know I do. We got Hive Gaming's Moke coming from Japan. Pretty much a Trunks aficionado for season 1. Season 1, he came in at 3rd at EVO, 3rd at SEAM, 3rd at Dragon Ball Saga 6, and 9th at NCR 2018, taking out players in season 1 such as Sonic Fox, Kazunoko, Dogra, Shanks, the Kill Sage. For various reasons, he unfortunately wasn't able to keep up with the game after season 1 and continue competing, but I know everyone's waiting to see him come back. Rynge, what do you think about Moke?
Yeah, I mean, a signature, a staple of season 1 Dragon Ball FighterZ, right? Everywhere we went, every tournament we saw Moke in the top 8. As you can see, won maybe 9th place at NCR, but pretty much besides that, we always saw him on the top of the results. And I mean, 3rd at EVO, just an incredible Dragon Ball FighterZ player in that season 1. It is unfortunate we didn't get to see more of him as the game progressed, because I feel like he's one of those players, despite like sticking with Rashid in Street Fighter V, which is a smart decision, right? Rashid's been good pretty much every patch. I would have liked to see how he adjusted in Dragon Ball FighterZ, to see if he did at all, right? Or if he did just stick with that core team, especially now with more people playing Trunks because of the changes to him in the latest season. I hope we get Moke back, because he's always been one of the original Trunk GOATs, and I just want to see the more Trunks from Dragon Ball FighterZ.
Yeah, Moke, when I picked Trunks in season 1, I basically used him to rationalize my choice to play him. Because people were like, why are you playing this character? Like, no one plays him, and like he has no mix-ups because he doesn't have below 2L. And I'm like, well, Moke's kind of watching people with him. I'm kind of doing pretty well with him here. Like, this character's really good, right? Moke is, he's comes from other fighting games, of course. Also, by the way, he's really young for a fighting game player. Like, yes. I think he's like early 20s or like 2021. He's pretty young, and he has been playing. So like he's like a similar to Wawa. Like, he started playing like he was like 14 or 15 or something. So really, really young, really, really talented, really good at building out structures in the game. I think that's always been the thing that's strongest with him, and I think it really shows, especially in his Dragon Ball play.
Yeah, and again, a fun thing to note yet again is that the last 3 players have all been players that brought out an underplayed character onto the competitive scene, or like really brought the shine onto them. So Moke was one of the very few people playing Trunks at a high level back in Season 1, which kind of carried over into Season 2 with people trying to play him and such, but he did fall off because of the meta. But now he's all buffed up. A lot of people think he's S tier. So yeah, who knows? Maybe he'll start playing again if he can. Come back to Trunks. Coming down to number 7, another huge fan favorite, especially in the European community. We have Spain's Vodafone Giants / Red Bull, Shanks. Very, very known for his 18 Gohan and Super Saiyan Goku play. He is one of the only players that has stuck with his team since Season 1, all throughout his competitive life in the game. Coming in at 4th at EVO in Season 2, 3rd at Combo Breaker, 4th at Spain, 4th at UFA, and he is yet another one of the players who had a huge breakout in Season 2. LK, what do you think about Shanks?
I really like talking about Shanks as a player and what he means to the game. You already mentioned one of the points. He played his team since the beginning. He's run that Android 18, Adult Gohan, SJ Goku. The game has gone through like so many phases, like SJ Vegeta and then like Cell Bardock and all these things. He's still playing it. And honestly, one of my favorite things about Shanks' team is that it was able to, let's say, stay afloat compared to what was being played. So like he had SJ Goku Anchor before people were using it. He had things like Super Dash Assist with Adult Gohan. That team had Universal Fuzzy set up like mad easy, right? Like DHC 18 into Adult Gohan. Like that team always stayed with him as the game grew. And I mean, there's no way to know that's going to happen, but I think that's like such a special thing, especially showing that he was like so dedicated to his team and able to draw out these things in his characters. That's something that really, really stands out to me about him.
Yeah, and I think he just continues the trend of players that really bring a certain character to prominence, right? We did see a lot of Android 18 at the very beginning of the game's lifespan, but she fell off with some of the changes. And he always stuck with her, as y'all mentioned, and he just really illuminated how good this character is. And it's been dope to see his rise in Season 2. And it's just an interesting watch always because of how he makes the other player adjust to his team, right? Because his team has that unorthodox strategy, because he's so good at using barrier. It's always fun to see how top-level players adapt or don't, right? Like the Sonic Fox match where he actually beat him. Kazunoko, right? He's beat some of the best players in the world, Wawa, Bomba, Dogra, the notable victories. And it's just amazing to see the first time he plays these incredible players, how off-put they are and how they're just mind-blown by the type of strategies and situations that he presents. So, yeah, definitely a fan favorite, definitely one of my favorites. Big ups to Shanks. Glad to see him on the list in such a high place.
Yeah, he's another one of my favorite players internationally for sure. He's very chill, super cool guy. Easy to see why everyone loves him. I like the thing in chat asking if he even has the fighters passes. But I think it'll be interesting to see what he comes out of the recent patch playing, considering Super Saiyan Goku got hit pretty hard with his big 2M nerf, and a lot of systemic changes surrounding characters like Gohan 18, who made really abusive uses of Snap before. So I'm pretty interested to see what he'll come out of the dust, I guess, and wind up playing. Number 6, another big fan favorite. We've got USA's Hook Gang God, currently a free agent. Made his big breakout debut. The most notable tournament, probably in everyone's mind for him, is Summit of Power, where he came in at 1st. Combo Breaker came in at 5th. CEO, 5th place. And coming into Season 2, one of his big placements was 3rd at Combo Breaker. He had some very solid showings early on in Season 2 as well, with tournaments like Versus Fighting. He's had some notable wins against Goichi, where he at least reset the bracket on him. Sonic Fox, Fenrich, Dogra, Shanks, and many more. Rynge, I'll go ahead and let you start out. Oh, you're exploding.
A few people knew about
You're a robot. Before. You're a robot.
Robot?
Yeah, you want to try rejoining the call? Hello?
Rynge? We made it.
Oh, no.
Did we make it?
No, he's exploding.
Robo Rynge.
Can I change the... Let me... Yeah. You go US West? Hello?
Hello?
All right, that's better. That's better. All right, continue.
Okay, I can continue now?
Yeah.
Okay. So Hook Gang God, right? A few people knew about him from his Persona days playing Teddy, but I feel like his rise to prominence in the scene is perhaps the fastest I've ever witnessed in the fighting game community. He was just immediately like the star of NLBC when he started going out for Dragonball FighterZ there. And it was so cool to see him like grow into the fighting game community. Because I remember like at Texas Showdown in the very first year of Dragonball FighterZ, we were like in a car going somewhere, Whataburger or something. And he was like, it's a surreal experience for me to actually be a part of this, right? Like just going out at tournaments, offline events, traveling around the country to do this. And I mean, you've heard him talk about it if you watched his stream plenty of times, that his stream and Dragon Ball FighterZ is what bought him a home, right? What has moved him out of the place that he was at, which was not in the best circumstances, to say the least. So Hook Gang God has just been an amazing story. I mean, they documented his story, incredible placings throughout Dragon Ball FighterZ lifespan in season 1. We see even in season 2 appearance for Combo Breaker in 3rd place. He kind of fell off coming out a bit, but I think he's such a staple of this game, and probably still to this day the game's best story, that he has to be this high on the list. So big ups to Hook Gang God. I mean, yeah, I can go on and on for sure.
Yeah, like what else can you say about Hook, right? So obviously Persona player, obviously to me, not obvious to a lot of people, he kind of exploded. To me, he's like the Lost Soul equivalent in Dragon Ball. Just like, you know, people knew, then the right time came and he just really exploded. And I think with Hook, you're going to see another like really common theme with a lot of these players in the top 10. They all brought something to the game that had not been done before. And with Hook, it's definitely Piccolo. Of course, he has his brother beneath Piccolo Bros, but you know, on the West Coast, those events were as like heavily advertised and watched as much as NLBC. So a lot of people's first experience seeing Piccolo ever was watching Hook just destroy people at NLBC every week.
Yeah, it had a big come up story, pretty much. Came out of nowhere for almost everyone, for the most part. And yeah, it's pretty wholesome to think that he had all those like tournament traveling experiences, right? So late compared to most of us, at least for me and LK, and most likely you as well, Rynge.
Yeah, for sure.
At least before quarantine, right? It's kind of something you start taking for granted. Just kind of becomes the norm, right? It's nothing special all the time. But it was really cool to see someone start getting that opportunity through their work in the game. It's pretty doubtful they'll ever come back to competitive play for Dragon Ball FighterZ, at least. They've said so themselves multiple times. But he definitely left a big mark on the game. So great to see him up here at number 6. We're going to move down to number 5. Yet again, it's top 10 full of fan favorites. We've got Cyclops Athlete Gaming's Dogura coming from Japan. We need a quick call for Tasty Steve to come say his name. But he has some strong placements, coming in at 4th at Red Bull Final Summoning, 3rd at Combo Breaker, 4th at CEO, 3rd at Final Round 2018. Notable wins. This man has beaten everybody for the most part. LK, seeing that we are both fellow BlazBlue players along with Dogura, you go ahead and talk your boy up.
Yeah, Dogura, man. Guilty Gear, Persona, people don't know, BlazBlue, Street Fighter, Dragon Ball. This guy is the Chad from Osaka. Like, he's just good in every game. Works really hard, really smart, really threatening. That's the thing about his playstyle. Like, you feel threatened when he's near you. That's always something that really stood out to me. Like, for example, I mean, we're gonna talk about Goichi later on, obviously, but like when I play Goichi, I'm actually pretty comfortable, right? Like, I'm like, okay, you know, like it's gonna be hard, but I can do this. But when I play Dogura, I always feel threatened, and I don't quite understand why. He has like really sharp instincts. Picks what he has to do, and he just does it. He literally, as it says, he's beaten literally everybody. Nobody is safe from him.
Yeah, Dogura, definitely one of my favorites as well. Good in everything he plays, right? He's another one of those. We've seen plenty of those players on this list already. And you know, one of my favorite things about Dogura is the charisma, right? He's always got the showmanship to go along with his amazing play. He's always a really funny guy, taking pictures poolside and all that. He's always got entertainment aspects going on outside of the game. Inside of the game, also, one of the things that sticks out to me about Dogura and Dragon Ball FighterZ was early on in the game's lifespan, I felt like he was one of the first players to really innovate the options coming off of a clash in the game. He was like one of the first people I saw like responding with reversal level 3s or even reflect, like just like one of the very, very first people and innovators of like more options off of clashes than we usually saw in Dragon Ball FighterZ. So always one of the best players in whatever he touches. Big ups to Dogura, the legend.
Yeah, you can go back and look at him play pretty much any fighting game that he's put time into and see him up there with some of the best. Very cool guy. Everyone loves him for a reason. Big fan favorite. Always looking to see more of him, especially since he kind of put Dragon Ball on the back burner in season 2 and maybe season 3, we don't know. But also fun thing to note is that he was literally the first person in DBFZ to beat Goichi in a set. He put him in losers at final round in 2018 when he got that 3rd place. Coming down to number 4th, we have Dogura's teammate, Cyclops Athlete Gaming, another BlazBlue legend, pretty much the BlazBlue legend, is Fenrich, coming from Japan. Everyone knows him for namely his cell play and his bombos, if you will. He came in at 2nd at Red Bull Final Summoning after playing in every single LCQ and getting deep in every single LCQ. I believe it was grand finals in each one, right?
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Literally
grand finals,
everyone.
each LCQ, and still, after all that work, day 1 for LCQ was like probably 10 hours to play in every bracket and make it that deep in all of them. And still the next day he came in at 2nd in the final summoning. Season 2, he came in at 2nd at World Tour Finals, 3rd at EVO, and 2nd at CEO. And he is yet another player who has beaten pretty much literally everyone notable in Dragon Ball FighterZ professional play. Rynge, you want to go ahead?
Man. So Fenrich, right? Getting hit in Dragon Ball FighterZ has always been scary, going back to the very beginning of the game. But this is the dude that really made you have that fear in your heart, right? Because any touch, you knew it was going to be some type of optimal combo that's either going to kill you or it's going to put you in a situation where you're going to have to guess for your life or spend your sparking, something like that. You're going to have to spend a tremendous resource to get out of. He's just an optimal monster. He's incredibly hardworking, young player as well, as you mentioned, the BlazBlue God. Pretty much good at everything he touches as well. This is another guy like that. And with Fenrich, my favorite story regarding him is when Goichi would talk about Fenrich and the other Cyclops Osaka players would talk about traveling with Fenrich and playing with Fenrich and how, Goichi would go back to the room and see Fenrich. He's not doing anything besides popping open the mobile setup and labbing and just continuously doing that in the hotel room until they have to go play. And Goichi always mentioned that as a motivating factor for him in Dragon Ball FighterZ and what brought him to the skill level he's at today. So, I mean, Fenrich is an incredible player. Incredible results, and just a player I always like watching.
Yeah, Fenrich, BlazBlue God, young BlazBlue God himself, the strongest combo monster in the entire world. Like, he literally really does practice combos that hard. I think most players probably have a story about seeing Fenrich in a corner somewhere, just grinding out combos, trying to figure out new routes, trying to figure out new little optimizations. He has a thing where, a lot of players on this list have, like they're really confident or they're willing to take risks, but like Fenrich kind of has it at like the max level where he's like really willing to do it, and his team is good at doing it as well. He's somebody who's really also stuck to his guns, and basically once he picked up that Cell Bardock SJ Vegeta, he really stuck it out for a long time. It took him a long time to switch to GT Goku in season 2. So he has a lot of like little nuances and small understandings of situations in the game that a lot of other players don't have because they just haven't played the characters as long as he has.
Yeah, I recall him having one interview. He might have been over-exaggerating, but I definitely believe it, where he talked about how he practices combos for about 8 hours a day, which is pretty crazy that this man works 9 to 5 just so he can TOD you. But he whips him out whenever he needs to. So you can see that the work had bore fruit in his play, and hopefully he comes away with some big major wins next time tournaments start up again, because he's definitely always right there in Dragon Ball FighterZ, and he's shown that he can go to more than the distance in a game like BlazBlue. Coming in at number 3, we have the Demon of Season 1. We have Burning Core's Kazunoko coming from Japan. As you can see, he's got plenty of first place under his belt, such as Red Bull Final Summoning, CEO, Saga 6 in Season 1, and NCR Regionals, along with plenty of other tournaments. Notable wins, again, everybody. LK, I think you have plenty of plenty of topics to talk about with Kazunoko, having experienced him in multiple fighting games. So you go ahead and you start.
Yeah, so I remember basically the first time I played Kazunoko in Dragon Ball, I was like, I wonder if I actually know how to play like these games that we're playing. You know what I mean? Like, what am I doing? He smoked me so bad that I was like, I actually don't know what I'm doing in this game. And that's how he made everyone feel for about 6.5 months. That team really, really not only suits him, because Kazunoko has this thing where he likes to play a specific type of character. There was an interview pretty early in the game where he was like, I don't want to play Cell because he's not fast enough. I like playing fast. And it really shows in his team. The team's hyper mobile, no like real full screen control in the traditional sense that we understand now, with like double beams. He's super dashing at you. He's calling Gohan. He's mixing you up. Our defensive options were a lot different at this time too. It was just really, really hard to escape from these things. And from my perspective, I think like it solved the game straight up in Season 1. Like that would have been like something like that would have been the end. He's top player in many, many games. Of course, it's about Dragon Ball, but Kazunoko is also like a Capcom champion in SF4, beating Daigo in grand finals. He has accomplishment after accomplishment after accomplishment under his name. He's really, really a unique force in not just Dragon Ball, but fighting games in general.
Yeah, I would honestly say he's in the conversation for greatest fighting game player ever. Like he's that level. And you mentioned he's the only player to ever win 2 professional world tours for a fighting game, right? Street Fighter, when he beat Daigo in the last Capcom Cup for Street Fighter 4, and then Dragon Ball FighterZ, obviously the first season of that. And yeah, I feel the same way in Season 1. Is I think he had such strong results because he really did figure out the game before everybody else and kind of solved that meta. And we saw him ride, 4 championships on the tour, and then the final summoning itself of victory too. No one could stop him, and he's an absolute legend in my eyes. Kazunoko is just like one of the best, and probably, in my actual opinion, like the greatest fighting game player of all time.
For me personally, it's been super like interesting and fun watching him play all these different games as his career has gone on, and basically as I've grown up. Because I know about Kazunoko for over a decade now. He was an Order Soul main in Guilty Gear Accent Core, and I was as well when I started playing the game. And he went by Inoue back then, if you want to look up matches of Kazunoko playing the game. And it is funny because one of his problems such a long time ago was that he would always make it really deep into tournaments, and then he would choke. And so that was like his thing for Guilty Gear until SF4 came out, and he was like, he's like, man, you guys suck at this game. I'm gonna play Yun and beat everyone, right? And he did. Everyone was like, no, who the fuck are you, right? Like, who the fuck is this guy? He's not gonna win. And he came out to Evo and crushed it, and pretty much made everyone look like a joke in the game, right? And since then, he's just been on a tear in every single game that he focuses on. So very, very cool player to watch come up over the years, over such a long span of time. And he's always super strong in anything he plays, on such a basic level as well. He's never doing anything super crazy. It's just, as someone in chat said, he's just pretty much Mr. Fundamentals. He's an exceedingly strong fighting game player in general.
He really is the master of finding the character or team that fits him the best so fast. Like, he always knows where to go with it. It's wild.
Yep. Coming down at number 2, we have another big name, of course. Another player who has defeated pretty much everybody. Evil Genius's Sonic Fox, coming from USA, coming in at first at EVO, first at Combo Breaker in Season 1, first at Canada Cup, first at World Tour Spain in Season 2, with plenty of other victories under their belt. Has changed their team many, many times, and a pretty, not an early adopter but still, I want to say ahead of the curve on the base Vegeta pickup, especially in Season 2. Very, very strong player, multi-game champion. You could go on and on about all the games they've won in. LK, you go ahead and you start this one off.
Yeah, there's so much you could say about Sonic Fox. This game, I feel like, really shows what Sonic is really, really good at. They, similar to Kazunoko, they are really good at using the defensive options in the game in a really, really strong way, playing with no fear, just really confident. Also, like, similar to a lot of players on here, but probably the best and most extreme example of this is bringing characters to the spotlight that people might have underrated. So Base Vegeta is an example because that character got really popular specifically after they picked him up. Like, people are already playing Base Vegeta already though, but team compositions, team ideas, like look at the Season 1 team. Like, most of us will look at that team at this point and be like, that's not a team. But they used it, they ran it for a really long time until they were like, this is not good, and then they switch. And the other thing I really like about Sonic is they're always super, super confident that their choice in characters are strong, and that's really, really, really important. You have to believe in what you're playing for real, especially if you're not playing and following what everyone else is doing. And I feel like that is a huge reason, a really, really major reason for their success.
Yeah, Sonic, incredible in pretty much every aspect, whether it be life or fighting games. And it's funny because I called Kazunoko the greatest fighting game player of all time, but the way Sonic Fox is going, on my personal list, Kazunoko is going to be usurped by Sonic Fox eventually if they keep going with the way they're going. Just an incredible story so far. Obviously, just constantly gave us the best story in terms of in-game rivalries I've ever seen in a fighting game. Goichi and Sonic Fox has transcended just Dragon Ball FighterZ. Even the fighting game community, I've heard people that don't really tune in that much to fighting games make sure they watched Evo every time or watched any time Sonic Fox and Goichi were matching up in Dragon Ball FighterZ. So just that alone, I think, really speaks to their legacy in Dragon Ball FighterZ and in the fighting game community. Obviously, multiple time champion, and in general, very important to the community, right? Sonic Fox was named Esports Player of the Year, chose that time to really send a message about what he believes in, trans rights, and pretty much everything that he represents them as a person, not only about fighting games, but about life and their beliefs. So Sonic Fox has been an inspiration, to say the least, and we're lucky to have them in the fighting game community. Excuse me.
Yeah, they've definitely made a mark on this game, along with pretty much any other that you could think of naming that they've played in, such as Skullgirls, DOA, Soul Calibur even. They started playing some Tekken, Mortal Kombat, of course, pretty much any NRS game. And they've even tried other games like Blaze Blue, probably more than I could possibly name, right? So they're always very experimental with their teams. I'm not sure what they are playing right now, Season 3. I know they've been playing a lot of Skullgirls again recently, now that game's kind of having a resurgence due to the quarantine and netcode and everything. But they've always been willing to mess around. You know, they've played Nappa competitively, Beerus competitively, and they always have strong opinions at the start. You know, this character's broken, you guys are just sleep. Sometimes they're right, sometimes they're wrong, but the fact of the matter is that they will try it, right? And they'll take it far and try to get that data to figure out what's actually strong. So definitely always a player to look out for in pretty much any fighting game that you could possibly imagine. And, you know, they have all the victories to prove it. Coming in at number 1, the strongest man in the world, self-proclaimed, and also on the PGRZ, we have Cyclops Athlete Gaming's Goichi, coming from Japan, a pretty much ancient Melty Blood legend, coming in at Season 1's Evo, 2nd place, 1st at World Tour Finals in Season 2, 1st at Evo, 1st at Combo Breaker, and if you've been keeping up with the competitive scene, this is the tip of the iceberg. Clearly, considering that they're number 1, they have beaten literally everyone that is a threat in competitive Dragon Ball FighterZ, and have pretty much very well known for any character they play. I guess the longest character they've been playing is most likely Bardock. LK, seeing as that you were also once a competitive multi-blood player, I think it'd be appropriate for you to go ahead and start with Goichi.
Yeah, I would say what you said about Kazunoko probably is really similar to me with Goichi. Like, I met Goichi in 2012 at a multi-blood invitational. At that point he was like incredibly strong at the game. He was always known for it, but like never, just like a guy who couldn't close really, always like in top 8s and stuff. But he was good at a lot of like just really uncommon, for lack of a better word, commonly called poverty fighters for a long time, like Aquapaza Legend, Dengeki Buko Fighting Climax, all these games, like always just like running these games. One year though, he came to Evo and we had a chat. So we usually, we catch up, and he asked, what should I do to become a popular player? And I was like, that's easy. Just come here, play Street Fighter. Everyone's gonna love you. You're Japanese. Straight up. Next year, top 8 at Evo, 5th place, Chun-Li. Immediately, right? That was probably the world's first general introduction to him, was that Street Fighter 5 top 8. After that, of course, in Dragon Ball, pretty much from the jump, this dude was like the person to beat. So we had Sonic Fox over here in the US. Japan had Goichi. Nobody was touching him in this game. Similar to Sonic, how there's a lot of things that Sonic is good at that are shown in the game, and they're good at showing their strength. Goichi also has that, and that is the nature of his defense, between it being hard to actually come up with mix-ups, trying to trick people's reaction. Like, he's just really disciplined, and he will sit and properly defend everything, making him feel like a wall to crack open. It really goes to show too, because he's beaten everybody and he's won a lot of the most important events in this game.
And I think that ultimate defense thing is a part of what makes the Goichi Sonic Fox rivalry so special, is that everything fit together so perfectly, right? Is that we have a player from America, we have a player from Japan. The player from America has the ultimate offense, Goichi has the ultimate defense, and then both of them being very charismatic individuals as well. It was beautiful to watch it all come together. And you said pretty much everything there is to say. I want to talk about one of my personal experiences with Goichi in Dragon Ball FighterZ. At Top 8 Evo this last year in 2019, I was lucky enough to do the house mic with Yipes for the Saturday finals. And winners finals was Goichi versus Sonic Fox, no surprise. And to me, like, the electricity in the arena, like, we were in the arena, we were just in the regular ballroom for Evo, but the electricity there, the level of play I saw in that winners finals, and just feeling the crowd and losing my mind on the house mic, was probably my favorite experience in the fighting game community ever. And it has become my favorite set in any fighting game that I've ever watched. So I want to say thank you to both Goichi and Sonic Fox for that. And yeah, incredible player. A streak like we had never even seen before, which is wild, because we saw Kazunoko do incredible in season 1, and Goichi went on a tournament winning streak that almost put that to shame. So just the strongest player for sure, and an incredible one.
Yeah, it's been interesting to see, especially with the Goichi Sonic Fox rivalry, is that there's always a time of the year where it peaks, right? Despite a player like in season 1 where Kazunoko was winning legit everything from the tour, right before that was Sonic Fox and Goichi going at it at Evo. Yeah. And everyone was going crazy over that. It was a culmination of over half a year where they first played each other at final round, and 6 months later they ran it again, and the results were different. And so Goichi had like this, I don't know if I'd call it a slump, right? But for a player like that who was just winning a ton of things and now they're no longer winning, a lot of people were like, oh, he's washed, slumping, blah blah blah. But once season 1 was over and done with, he came out swinging yet again, and that rivalry between him and Sonic Fox sparked right back up, considering they were always first, second, or playing each other in top 8, and just kind of dictating who would be winning the tournament once Kazunoko stopped being the only person winning for so long. So it's been really cool to see their rivalry grow as the game goes on. I'm not sure what he is doing for a team in season 3. I believe he's been messing around with Base Vegeta. I don't want to sound too sure about that though, because I'm unsure. But yeah, I have no doubt that once tournaments pick back up, he will continue taking at least some of them home.
Definitely, at least.
So again, here's the top 10 graphic. If you want to see us talk about the rest of the top 50, there are VODs on Panda Global YouTube channel, as well as the PG Stats Twitter. There are Red Bull articles. You can type !PGRZ in the chat, get the article for top 10 through 1. You can also go back and look through the article for the other sets of 10 for each day that we went over these for Roundtable. There's also a link, as you can see right here at the bottom. You can just go down and click that. That'll take you to the YouTube. Thank you guys so much for watching the Roundtable today. Thank you, Rynge and LordKnight, for helping me do all of these from the top 50. Really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me, man. Really appreciate being on.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me, dude.